they manage or they oversee. They have about 9 places of safety. They recently opened a therapeutic center at Maxwell Park where children who have behavioral issues and need some psychosocial help can go. And it's a very important organization because there's a lot of concern about what is happening to our children. And Miss McIntosh is here to tell us. Miss McIntosh, good day. How are you?
I am blessed and highly favored.
Wonderful. So how long have you been working at the CPFSA?
I've worked there for 19 years.
19 years.
19 years. Since 2004 when the CPFSA, then CDA was actually
How old
formed.
am I? So what did you do before CPFSA?
Before CPFSA, I worked at several other places, but I'm a trained auditor.
You audit things?
Yes, I'm a trained auditor. So I've worked in Jamaica and in England as an auditor.
Well, that is good because, I mean, the CPFSA gets what, 3 billion? So we need somebody who has a good understanding of management to ensure that that money goes where it's supposed to go.
That's right. And I have ensured that all the funds are spent as budgeted.
Right.
And we are audited.
Yes.
Of course, by external auditors, Auditor General.
Right.
And just to ensure that we follow all the acts that all the laws of Jamaica.
So nobody on TikTok now gonna make no video say you take no money?
No, sir. No, sir. And one of the things that I'm particularly happy about, that even when the Auditor General comes to do their reviews, that the agency is not called into disrepute because we have covered all the controls and we ensure that all the funds are accounted for.
So we have dealt with you, who you are. You have children?
I have one son, Omar. Will be 16 in 1 week time.
Wow, that's amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Say happy birthday to Omar on our behalf. So you understand, who don't have children don't understand children, but when you're a parent, it's rough,
It's rough bad.
it's a very rough thing.
It's rough bad. And a teenage boy,
last night my son wake up 4 o'clock in the morning and I will not go back to sleep. So if you look in my eyes, you can understand. No. Yes. So you have, how many children's homes do you have?
All right. In all, we have 59.
59.
9 of which are under the direct purview of the CPFSA.
So you manage 9 directly?
9 directly.
So what happened to the other 50?
So they are privately run. So you would have, say, churches own homes. Mm-hmm. So SOS.
That's village. SOS Children's. That's in St. Anne, eh?
Right. There's one in Kingston and one in Montego Bay.
Right.
So those are like privately run homes. So we monitor those because, of course, we have established regulations and so on for all the homes.
Hold on a second. Can you turn on the headset here for me? Just don't turn it up too high. I want the people to be able to hear. Perfect. So yes, so you're saying that, so you have SOS, places like SOS.
That are privately run.
Right.
So we monitor them.
So when I was minister, I know that we had to close down about 2 of them.
Yes.
I won't call their names.
Right.
But in my constituency, we have 3. We have Summerfield Girls Home, we have St. Monica's, and we have a place of safety called St. Augustine. Yeah. Do I have the most? I don't think I have the most.
No,
I think
you don't.
Kingston probably have both.
Kingston has the most.
Right. One of the most interesting things about it is that these places of safety are actually, in many cases, a refuge for the children, especially the girls' homes. So can you tell us a little bit about how a home is run?
All right. So the places of safety, because the children are on remand,
right,
there are certain things that we cannot necessarily do with them. So, for instance, having not been given a fit person order, we can't be sending them necessarily out to school.
Okay.
So we have teachers in those homes that will help to.
And what kind of things do these children get involved with? Like what kind of trouble them getting?
There's not necessarily just trouble they get involved with. So, for instance, if you might have heard say there might be a fire, and you might end up having to go and recover 5 of the children who were displaced. We may end up with them in the place of safety. We have other ways that they come in. So some of them are orphaned, but some of them, if they have behavioral issues and the parents may have brought them before the court to say they we cannot manage them, then we may have to take them in. So they come from varying backgrounds.
And not all of them are bad pitney.
No. And that's one of the things I would love to dispel.
Because people think that once you get involved in a children, you're bad pitney.
From in the homes,
yes,
you're bad pitney.
So not all of them are bad pitney.
Not all of them. And they, the stigma, and they do feel hurt with the stigma, because when they go to school, sometimes even the children will look at them and say, "Oh, you're from homes, you're bad pitney." Sometimes even the teachers, unfortunately, might, stigmatize
so every
them.
Jamaican needs to understand that not all children who are in children's home are quote unquote. Well, I don't even believe in the bad pitney thing.
Exactly that too.
No pitney never born bad. Not all of them are challenged disciplinary wise.
That's right.
Right. Sorry. So we have dealt with. So you have the places of safety, which you control all of them.
Right.
But then you also have
the homes.
The homes.
Yes.
Tell us about those.
So the homes now are more permanent placements, if you want to call it that.
Yeah.
And so we'd have them doing, they'll get counseling, they'll get rehabilitation. But those children know, once, depending on their circumstance, we can start sending them out to school, getting them back on track as being just a regular child. We do review their cases from time to time to see if they are able now to be reintegrated. Because, of course, we recognize that having them in a home, say a home of 60 girls, 60 teenage girls, is not ideal. So if we can get them into foster care placement, or if we can...
What is that, though? What is foster
care? So we have a cadre of parents who
what cadre mean?
We have a group of parents around the island, roughly 1,000 of them right now.
There are 1,000 foster parents.
1,000 plus foster parents.
Right.
And we would have taken them through training. We would have assessed their homes and, known which child we can place with them.
So there are people who volunteer.
Because it really is
other
volunteer.
People, children.
Yes. Jamaicans innately, we have been doing it. So you would have a cousin from the country, or so that maybe you need to help. And so your aunt sends him to you, and you are looking after that child, sending him to school, everything. It's that is the unofficial foster care. So we have many parents who continue to do that, but do it officially and have our children in their care.
So you help those people who volunteer, or them depend on them own?
No, man, we do help them.
Okay.
So they get a little stipend, and a little stipend. So every 2 months we pay them 16,000 for each child.
And I hear that it'll go up soon.
Well, we are going to petition because we know that, but of course, every dollar that we spend, we do have to get cabinet approval, and then the Ministry of Finance will give us the funds if the approval is there.
So you have places of safety, you have children's home, you have foster care. But to finish the children's home, so you're saying that churches, charity organizations, I know that Father How Long have a whole heap of them. I know that Mustard Seed
Mustard Seed communities has a lot, and they tend to deal with mostly the children with special needs.
Right.
So most of their homes deal with special needs.
Because I remember I went to, was it John Bosco? What's his name of the one on Olympic Way? Not John Bosco.
No, that is Mustard Seed. Mustard Seed.
But they have about 9 of them, don't they?
Yes, around the island.
They have the largest amount?
The largest amount, yes.
Yes, because Father Ramkisoon, his name is.
Yes.
And I remember going there with the Prime Minister, they were teaching the kids how to do pottery and all of those
things. That's his Olympic Way.
On Olympic Way. All right, so tell me now. We have this thing, right, where a parent can go to the police station and they can say to their child, to the police, I cannot control this child. And then the police will call CPFSA and the child goes before the court. And the judge can send this child to another institution, which is a more penal, like Metcalf.
Right.
Without charge.
Yes.
Why is that we're doing that?
Well, because that's what is in Section 24. So it does say that once the parent takes a child in and they place before the court may then put the child in the care of a probation officer.
I can't lock you up without charge. So why are we doing it to children?
Well, so that's why we are so anxious to have that section repealed.
Right.
Because it is putting the children who have committed an offense,
yes,
as well as
with the ones who have
not committed.
Well, I'm happy because I
offense.
know that the CPFSA has been fighting very hard over the years
Yes.
to get that section of the law removed.
Yes,
And I'm
yes,
very happy
and-
that Minister Williams in Parliament yesterday, we started the debate on it.
Right.
But tell me, what is going to happen based on your understanding? When we remove Section 24, which gives the judge the ability to send the child to prison basically without charge, what are you going to do with those children that come before the court who you cannot
right.
charge them with a crime? What will happen to them now?
Well, no, they would be done under Section 8,
right,
which is the
fit person
order.
Right.
So then the judge now has the ability to send the child to us under Section 8, but then may say to us that we can do an assessment as to a psychosocial assessment.
No, you see the big words thing, remember, you know? A country school, I go.
Sorry,
so
Minister,
you have to go low. So
all right.
What does psychosocial mean?
We will do an assessment to find out, one, the level of the behavioral issue.
So you want to find out what going on in them
what lives. Is going on in their lives and also in their minds, because part of it is that they do have mental issues.
Right.
Some of them do have mental issues that are caused from traumas that they, they encountered as a child. So we have assessment tools in hand, which we have been using. And so we'll continue to use it more extensively to find out what are the issues, whether mental or behavioral, social, and to see how we can then do interventions to assist them.
So now you're gonna, instead of just automatically or probably a child who has not committed a crime ending up at Metcalfe Street with another child who's gonna commit a crime, you're gonna give them, you're gonna assess them, you're gonna go into the communities as well in the assessment?
Yes, with every assessment we have to do that. Even though investigation.
I thought you just take them to the children's home.
No, Minister. When we say we do an investigation,
right,
we have to go to the community. We have to go to the child's home, to any home that the child might have been at, to the school.
But so people don't know that.
I know, but they seem to think that investigation is just one thing. We speak to the child, interview the child, get as much information as we can. We then have to go into the community to get information from the community persons, the homes, everything. So one investigation, at least 4 people would be interviewed for one investigation.
So you're going to go into the home, you're going to go into the community, you're going to talk to the child,
the school,
and you're going to the school as well.
Go to the school.
So you're trying to find out everything about the child.
Everything. We find everything about the child so that we can come to some sort of opinion to give to the judge to say, okay, the community is not safe for the child, let's say, or the home is not safe, or whatever it is, the influence, whatever is causing the behaviors still exists at the home.
But I hear though that when I was a minister, I heard that a child was in problems, like mother said the child is uncontrollable, and it went to court. And when you did your investigation, you found out that the child never want to be in the same bathroom with her stepfather. And you built another bathroom for that family and that child.
And those are the things we will do.
But we never know that you do those things.
Those are the things we'll do.
You need to tell more people about the things you're doing.
So we don't necessarily want to take the child from the home if it is not that is unsafe. So we help. If the need is to just build a bathroom or an additional room.
So you would help a family instead of taking away a child, you will try to
We have done that several times.
Okay.
When we speak with parents, so sometimes their frustration is that they don't have any source of income.
Right.
Or they don't know how to make the budget stretch. We have intervened, we have trained them with budgeting, and we also intervene if they want to start chicken rearing. We have done it. We have helped to pay to build the coop and buy the chicks. If they want to do sewing, we buy the sewing machine and help them so that they can start to earn income for themselves and are better able to look after the child, so we wouldn't have to bring in the child.
So you're saying to me that if there's a mother out there, a single mother, or a mother and father who are under pressure, or a grandmother who has custody of a child, and they need help, whether they need guidance or counseling, or they need to be guided to where to go, they can call the
Walk
CPFSA.
into any of our parish offices
Right.
and speak with an officer there. We have a special unit we call the Children and Family Services Unit that is specially designed to work with the families so that we keep them out of the system, if you want to call
So
it
you
that.
don't want the children to be in the system?
In the system, because they do better at home.
Oh.
So if we can support the parent or the grandparent or the caregiver in their home, then the children blossom better there. So we do what we can. So if we counsel them as a family, we counsel the child, and then we, if it is that there's a need that we can help with, then we do that, and then ensure that, you know, the child is okay, and we'll do follow-ups to ensure that the child is prospering, because at the end of the day, it's the best interest of the child.
So tell me something though, based on your experience in this whole child care and protection thing. What will this new repeal of, what difference will it make for the children?
All right, so it works in with how they are brought into us. It also makes provision of where we are to put them.
Right.
Because currently, unfortunately, the ones that are coming in with behavioral issues, we are housing them with perhaps others that are coming straight care and protection. So they may have been orphaned and so on. So
they're mixing children with different issues together.
We don't have the space.
Oh.
So with this now, we are going to be able to better organize and have the ones with behavioral issues housed at a location. We can treat them, do the intervention.
It's a new place that you just finished renovating.
Right.
I don't think we should talk too much about where it is.
No, we're not. Because it's not that anybody can just walk in and say, okay, I need to have my child looked after.
So you have a new place, I heard about it,
right,
where you just finished building it,
right,
which is secure, where if a child needs to have a residential care.
Well, that one is the outpatient. We have a home that is going to be residential, and we're actually seeking another home now.
So you want 3 of them? You want
3 in all.
Okay.
1 as a place of safety and 2 homes.
Oh, so different levels.
So when if the court says that Michelle McIntosh has to be taken in for assessment because her mother brought her in as uncontrolled, behavioral issues, as we would want it to be coached.
Right.
Then we would have Michelle at the place of safety while she's being assessed. Once she's assessed and we go back to the court and the court says, okay, Michelle, not so bad. Her mental space is not bad. We can intervene for about 3 months. Then we would place her at the residential facility where she would get intensive treatment for the 3 months.
Not Metcalf Street.
No penal institution.
So this is like a home where you have a house mother
and not just host mother. We have trained clinical psychologists that we want to have there. We're going to have a psychiatric nurse. We also have trained some host mothers in the care of trauma children who have been traumatized. So it's trauma-induced care.
I don't think a lot of people realize the things that our children go through in Jamaica.
No.
Because when I used to get the reports on a Monday morning, I used to stop reading the reports. Like I used to put them down. I used to get them and put them down because I'd say, I'm not starting my week with this. Because, and I think one of the reasons why it was important to have you here is that we need to increase the knowledge within the public as to what our children are going through. The people burning them with iron, the beatings, I don't know if I can say that word, and the sexual assaults, the abuse,
sexual grooming,
the grooming online. We have children who are supposed to be at school, but they're on the streets selling. People have always been complaining about these street children. And I know that you guys have done a lot of work in trying to get street children off the street. Tell us why it's so hard.
All right, it's hard because there are several reasons why the children are out there. One, they may have actually been sent there by parents. And so they have...
Parents are sending their children to the stoplights.
To earn the funds and bring in. So they must bring it in.
So basically they are
Yes. Yes. So, you know,
A lot of people don't know that.
we're just speaking the truth as it is.
Right.
So a lot of the times they actually have to return with funds.
So they have to go home with the
They
money.
have to go home with money for one reason or the other.
But isn't that dangerous for them?
It is dangerous for them. But it's also dangerous if they go home and they don't have the funds, because, you know, sometimes the corporal punishment, the whatever.
The beatings.
Yes. All right. Yes. The beatings.
So tell me something. So in a case like that where you find out that a parent has sent out the children, whether it's to wipe a car glass or to beg, what do you do?
All right. So we can bring the parent before the court. And so we would make the report to the police, and they would have to take it from that angle. Right. Because our remit is the child. So we have on occasion had to make the report to the police, and the police would intervene.
Are you planning any other initiatives? Because sometimes you see them out there a lot, sometimes they're not so much.
Right. So, well, it's a constant initiative we have, if you want to call it initiative. So we do bring them in, but then we will place them at our children's home, for instance, our place of safety. And then we're going to say to them, all right, we're going to start, you know, getting you ready to get back into society. So we're going to start sending you to school and all of that. They are used to carrying home maybe 20,000 a week already as their income.
Like some of them carrying on more.
More. Yes, as being very conservative. Yeah. So if they are earning that money already, what are we sending them to school to learn and then to come out to work and them not even going to carry home that? So it is a hard task.
They're spoiling the children, man.
Yeah, it is a hard task. So we can't keep them, and then because it's not a penal institution, we can't keep them in. So the first chance they get, they abscond. So it is difficult keeping them necessarily off the road. You know, so sometimes we say maybe if the persons who pay them to wipe the screen they feel bad if they say they're not going to pay the child, because, you know, it's a child and everybody's heart goes out to them. But sometimes you wonder if it would help if they not do so that once they're not earning that income, they might be able to keep them in the home. I don't know. It's a difficult decision.
But you don't just house juveniles, that is people under 18.
Right.
But you also have transitional homes as well.
Yes, because we would have a child perhaps who has gone through the system, and at 18 by law, we would no longer be responsible, but it's our child. And this child might be doing well at school or whatever, so we have to continue with them. So we decided to have the transitional program. So we have 18-year-olds who are doing CAPE. We have 18-year-olds. We have over 500 of them now in tertiary around the island.
So you have more than 500 children who are in state care going to
universities and teachers' colleges, tertiary.
So how do they afford that, though? Because they don't have any parents.
Well, and that is it. So that's why we have to step in. Our parent ministry has been also paying some of the fees on our behalf. At first, when we were struggling, we used to get donations from foundations who would pay on their behalf. But we have been doing this now as a program for several years, and we are seeing the benefit now, because we have doctors, lawyers, everybody you can think of, teachers, police.
But there's a perception that once you go to a children's home that you won't come out too much. And you're telling me
that is a perception, because I'm going to tell you the good news that we have is that when every year we have a function to recognize children who do 4 and more CSEC, and we had to do 4 and more because we were having so many children passing CSEC, 10 at a sitting, 9 at a sitting from a children's home.
So you have children who are passing 9 and 10 CSECs one time?
One time. The top girl this year, she passed 8 with 8 ones, and she lives at a children's home. Now, she is going on to CAPE. There is nowhere, she doesn't have anybody else. We have to do it.
So you pay the fees?
Yes. And our school, whatever school supplies she needs and so on, just to ensure that she can live with what she needs to live with.
Yeah,
And if she wants to go to university, we'll carry her straight to.
But you know, it's very important, I think, we talk about it because there are a lot of misconceptions about children. I mean, when I was going to Clarendon College, we had children from St. Monica's who were in sixth form with us.
Yes.
You know, and they were doing pretty well. So it's very important that we educate the public that the children are children and they are potential and aspirations just like everybody else.
We have several head boys and head girls this year.
Really?
And valedictorians. Really? I've been getting the pictures. Yes.
That's really good though. We should commend them.
So yes. And I did ask the regional directors to ensure that they commend them. You know, we do have them. And once they realize that we are supporting them in that way, then they just continue to blossom and bloom.
So recently, the government decided to increase the salaries for social workers. One of the big issues that you guys have had is how to attract social workers.
Right. And unfortunately, that's a little bit of a sore point because our levels were not done commensurate
to the social workers
in the ministries.
But let us focus on the social workers for a while. These are the people that go out into the communities and engage with the communities.
With the communities, and we are essential service.
Right.
So if something happens to a child at 12 midnight, we have to be there.
So you're like police and those sort of people.
Yes. And
so if I call you at 2:00 tomorrow morning and say that there's an issue, you have to come.
We have to.
Okay, you need to take our number and
but really we have to. When unfortunately Walker's place of safety burnt down.
Right.
I got the call first because of my connection with that home. At midnight I was the first director there. And eventually I had called everybody else and everybody came, and social workers and so on, so as to help the children who were saved.
So it's a very stressful job, but
it is highly stressful. And you know, I have to also say our investigators, our first responders, children's officers, they are under so much stress because we are getting the reports in office and we are stressed. They're the ones out there seeing it firsthand. And so we have had to be doing a lot of psychological interventions with our staff because we, you know, they are just under severe stress, and it's just continual because with all of the things happening with the children these days, we are just going.
What are some of the things? Has there been a change in how the things that you're seeing? I know back in the day, most of it would used to be like sexual offenses and probably beatings and so forth. Has it changed?
All right. Well, since I started until now, the whole thing has changed, a gamut, because what we noticed, say for instance, in the early 2000s, the children that we had to deal with is mostly the children who had been orphaned, whatever. But if you look at even the calls coming in on 211 now, the majority of the calls are for behavioral issues, and those are tied with sexual abuse. Right? So if out of, say, the 16,000 calls, over 6,000 last year was behavioral issues.
I feel proud.
And linked.
You know, yes. I feel proud.
Thank you so much.
Because I will tell you the story, and we're going to go back to there. So when I became Minister of State, you need to pick your flowers, you know, so I'm picking my flower this morning. I always ask the question, why we don't have an emergency line for children, where children could call. And I called the OUR, and they said, well, you know, we have a line put down waiting for you. And I said, what you mean you have a line? They said, yeah, we've had a line.
Yeah, we have a
And I called, give credit to Miss Gage. I called Miss Gage. I said, Miss Gage, you need to set up a call center immediately. And we launched 211. And as you can hear, 16,000 calls last
year.
Wow.
They're getting in excess of 2,600 calls a week.
From children?
A week from persons making reports, not just children. So one of the things that I want to implement, Minister, we know that the children tend to be more on social media and do the WhatsApp. So I'm saying if we could put in a number, and the number I had in my head is something like 876 reports, which they can remember it quickly. And they can then WhatsApp their issues in, and we can take that report. Because we realize that they might not want to be able to call in because depending on the danger they are in, if they are calling, but if they're there texting, nobody's going to realize that's what they're doing.
So tell me, how does 211 work?
All right, so 211, you call that number and it is sent to, we have officers around the island and the call center who the calls are directed to, and they will answer, they will take the report, and then they instantly send it on to the investigation unit.
If I am a child and somebody has done something to me or I feel threatened, I can take up any phone.
Any phone, it doesn't cost
how much
anything.
Per minute it costs?
It doesn't cost you anything, it costs us.
And when I call 211,
someone will answer.
Someone will answer.
And it's 24/7, 7 days a week.
24. And how long you think it take to answer?
I don't know, but I know that once you call, you get an answer. We are in the middle of we're in the middle of upgrading the system, because we're putting fiber optics in all of the parish offices so that there's just one connection, and we're connecting the 211 to that system as well. So dropped.
I know that you had announced that you were upgrading the system.
Right. So,
but tell me,
so
when I call 211, what happens?
Right, someone answers. They take a report, and of course, because we have this child case management system, they
look, I need to increase the amount of line.
Did you say?
Yes.
Yes, we have to.
Because you're sounding busy.
Yes, extremely busy, and because of the number of calls, and there was an issue with flow, so the rate of drop calls is about 30% right now.
Because you're having too many calls.
Yes.
Wow. So we need to work hard to increase the amount of lines. So we need to work on that. When the call comes in, it goes to the social worker. What do you do next?
The investigator would then get all the calls. They would look to see the ones that are dire emergencies that they have to move on immediately. And so an investigator would be dispatched immediately. Other than that, we would have to schedule them and respond, based on the need. But the investigation, as I said, the investigation for one case can be quite intensive. If we have a sexual abuse call, then of course we have to work along with SISOCA, because we have the setup in Kingston, which is ideal, by the way, where we have 2 officers, social workers there, along with the police officers. So when the child is there and being interviewed, it's just one interview basically, so that they're not re-traumatized. And then, they have a medical doctor there to do examinations as necessary.
Have you had much success in terms of what the things that you find out from 211? Have you rescued any children?
Oh, yes, we have. Yes, we have. Yes, we have.
So it's a successful.
It is a successful, very, I would say maybe too successful, but it cannot be too successful once we are protecting children.
So what is the relationship between CPFSA and the police? Because I heard you mention SISOCA a while ago.
Well, we have a close relationship. We are actually now trying to pen an official MOU with them. But in each parish, each region, we have to have that close tie with the police, because there are some cases where the police has to accompany us. Because if you understand now, for the most part, our officers are female, and if we're going,
why is that so though?
Well, it's mostly females do social work. I don't know. But we do have quite a few hardworking men, but I mean, it's just a few in the cadre.
I just want to tell the listeners, if you want to call in to ask Ms. McIntosh any question about the CPFSA, you can call 968-8328, or you can WhatsApp 997-3125. That's 968-8328, or you can WhatsApp 997-3125. So you were telling me about the relationship you have with the police.
Right. So the officers, when they go to do the investigations, remember now they have to go into some of the communities, and at certain times of the night, we also have to transport the children to and from court. That's the other thing. So sometimes we have to have the officers with us to transport the children to and from court. Um, Again, this is also pretty extensive because if the child is housed in Clarendon and has to go back to court in St. James, yes, so the officer in St. James would have to travel down to Clarendon to pick up the child, carry the child up to court, so they have to be back by 10 o'clock to reach court.
So they're leaving Mobe by what, 5 o'clock in the morning?
Before in the dark. And then to reach down, and travel cross country, reach down, carry the child to court at 10 o'clock. If court is finished at 5 and the judge says, okay, the child must go back to the home in Clarendon, that officer then has to drive from St. James to carry back the child to Clarendon and then drive back home.
But you guys deserve a lot of flowers.
So the officers going home 1 o'clock in the morning and it's females.
Wow.
So sometimes we have to say, okay, 2 of you travel for your own safety. So you'll have 2 females traveling at 12 in the night. But luckily, as we say, because of the relationship with the police, if they stop them and they realize they have even, helped to escort them home or whatever. But we have to maintain that relationship with the police for everything.
So you have offices in every parish?
In every parish.
Do you have homes in every parish?
We have homes in most parishes. I'm just trying to think. Yes.
Because I know
only one.
I visited Kingston, St. Andrew, Manchester, St. Elizabeth, Westmoreland.
Only Westmoreland, because Clifton Boys Home, is we have in every parish.
So tell me, you are the new acting head of CPFSA.
Yes.
Where is the organization going over the next several years?
All right. So over the years before, so I have to just give a little history. We have just been evolving and becoming, responding to the needs. So, for instance, there is no actual investigation unit on our structure. There was no court team on our structure. There was no monitoring team on our structure. The psychology unit was not a unit on the structure. So one of the first things is that we had a restructuring where we now have these units and we can now populate and take on more persons within that unit, because we didn't have the posts. And with government, you can't be taking on persons without posts and things like that. So one of the things is to organize that structure,
right,
and get it up and running. The other thing is that we're looking at the processes now, because our processes before just had to do with dealing with the homes and so on. But we have so expanded now that we are looking at the processes. We also have other legislation that we need passed, because, for instance, the Adoption of Act, which we do.
Why they call it Adoption of Act?
I don't know. That was just the old English term.
Adoption of.
Yes.
What are you adopting other than children? So you have the Adoption Act, we know.
Right, because what that would also do is also streamline how we deal with the adoptions. And again, we are getting some other issues coming, because once it names children, so we are now having to look at guardianship.
Children Guardianship Act as well.
We also need to put forward, we haven't started yet, but we're looking at it, something to do with surrogacy. Because strange enough,
yes,
it is very prevalent in Jamaica, but because there's no act or law about surrogacy.
Surrogacy is prevalent.
You would be surprised. And so there are
saying that there are
matters.
There are a lot of people out there who are engaging other people to have children for them.
Yes, and then now it becomes a custody issue.
When the child is born, they don't want to give it up.
That's right. And so the custody matters now are being referred to us.
Who is the father, though?
Well, that is what has to be established, because in some cases, the father may have done his donation. Right.
That is the father for the woman who couldn't necessarily have a child, right?
So they may have done their donation.
Right.
So when you do the DNA testing, it's very clear that it's his child.
Right. But the lady is
not.
But
by law, the person who carried the child is the birth mother.
Right.
So then, of course, if I had been asked somebody to be my surrogate,
right,
I now have to adopt that child.
Right.
Because it's my husband's child, but it's not my child because it's not me birther.
Oh, Lord. I can see all sorts of mix up in that.
Okay, and we are getting a lot of those. So we now have to start to look at that. But a lot of it as well, we are getting from international, where a Jamaican woman who had a child with a German, and then she decides that she's coming home and run will leave him over there, and he wants to have custody of his child, who is German, but living out here with a Jamaican mother, then they could refer it to us.
But this is all sort of mix up, though.
Yeah, but these are the cases that we are now getting. It's not simple cases, and so there's some other legislation that we're going to have to start to put forward, and some conventions that we have to sign, because even maintenance, US, they have the Maintenance Act in the US. They want us to enforce it out here.
For Americans who are living here.
Out here. With the custody of the children. And so there are other areas now that we're going to have to start looking at, because everything that says, from it says child, we get it. So there's a lot more that we're going to have to look at in terms of our structure. So one of the things, so we didn't have a legal unit on our structure. We now have a legal unit, which we are trying to employ some more lawyers. But, so this is the way now we have to be looking at ensuring that the structure can respond to the emerging issues.
Where in Jamaica do you find, I know that I was listening to the DPP, and I don't like to raise this stuff, but it's important. And she's saying, and I'm not going to call the parish, that they're having some serious problems in some parishes in the west and in the east. Where are we finding the biggest challenges with children nowadays? You don't have to call the parish. Just give you can give us the Cornwall, Middlesex, or sorry.
All right. And it depends on the type of issues. Right. So the issues in Cornwall is different from Surrey.
Because I hear that there are some places in Cornwall where the idea of an underage child having a older man is not a problem to some community members.
And to the community members, and this is where the problem is.
Right.
So when we want to have, say, community intervention, we're certainly not going to get them on board.
Because they don't see a problem.
They don't see a problem.
But how do you overcome that, though?
All right. So we continue to try to penetrate some of these communities. Just recently, we did a tour in one of the areas that we have never been able to go in before. Never, ever.
Why weren't you able to go in there?
For many reasons.
You don't have to call the name of the community.
It's a pretty volatile area. It was almost what you would call impenetrable. But the officers felt the need, because they said that they want to make sure that the children in there are secure. And so they got together.
So the children don't go to school?
So we had to go in to find out all of that. It's not just a matter of not going to school. We had to go in to find out exactly what was happening. And so we did a collaboration with the police, but we had them maybe come in plain clothes so that they weren't looking as if, it's a police invasion in the place. And so we were able to go in and do some scouting to find out what was happening there.
So this person asked questions. Are they getting counseling? That's one. And this was just a while ago when you were speaking about the children. If yes, for how long? And what happens to them, the provisions after this is completed? And is it only Kingston that has a safe haven for children?
All right.
So I think that what they probably want to know is what happens to the children when they come to you, if you counsel them, and how long you counsel them, and after they finish, if you still engage with them. And where can children find safety outside of Kingston?
All right. So they do get counseling. Every one of our homes that we run, we have counselors and social workers who are employed there to work with the children. So they get counseling, and the length of the time depends on what the issues are.
Right.
So if the child needs an extensive amount of counseling. At least the counselors are there to work with them for that extensive time. Once they are not needing this kind of counseling, as I said, then we would review the case and to see if we would petition the court again to change the order. So we could petition the court to say, okay, get them from being a fit person to maybe if we reintegrate them with a family member or whatever, and they become on a supervision order, because we have those orders as well where the officers now have to monitor the children in their home.
Right.
So each case is done, and we do case conferences and so on to determine, okay, Michelle has done well under the counseling. She's now able to maybe be reintegrated, maybe go to grandmother rather than mother. And the case conference, they will deliberate and say, okay, yes, let's try to reintegrate. So we start to work with the grandmother, whoever, and then reintegrate Michelle with the mother.
So, but before I go to the next topic, which is I want to ask you before we run out of time, where are the safe havens for children?
The safe havens are, at the moment, they can go to our offices.
Any office, or they can call 211.
211.
Have you ever had to raid anybody's house after they call 211?
Yes, we have had to raid houses.
Through 211?
After the 211.
But you don't need to tell anybody which house it is.
No, I'm not.
One of the biggest issues we see emerging globally is the issue of human trafficking and the trafficking of children.
Yes.
Have you been seeing a lot of that coming up? But first, you need to tell us, what is human trafficking for those of us who don't understand what it is?
All right. This is when we move persons from where they're supposed to be to where you want them to be. And that is the simplest term I can use. So they might kidnap a child, and then, they're an under alert system. So we run the under alert system to an extent. And we will have children who go missing, and you'll get the under alert.
Why are some of these children, they're foreign?
Exactly, because they're trafficked.
So how they get out of the country?
No, that is what the police would have to do their investigation and let us know.
Because I hear some
a lot of them who are still missing, who are still mentioned as missing, are not in Jamaica.
Right. So as it relates to human trafficking, is it that people are being trafficked outside of the island? Are people being trafficked inside of the island?
Both.
So
for instance, let's say the police do a raid on a go-go club, and I just say a go-go club, and when they bring in these children, the persons, they find out that 4 of them are actually children.
And you have seen that?
Yes, we have had that.
In Jamaica?
In Jamaica. So the police will bring those children.
Saying that, hold on. My apologies for cutting you. But I like to read the listeners to hear what is happening. So you're saying that you have done raids.
No, the police.
The police have done raids on exotic nightclubs and found children in there.
Children.
Under 16.
Yes. And so they'll bring them to us at the place of safety. So the manager will get up the next morning and find that maybe 4 young ladies are there, that the police brought them in. And when you start to do your investigation and looking at it, they were brought in from some other parish.
So they're transferring them from, let's say, parish in the east to a parish in the west. And they are listed as missing.
And listed as missing.
So, and the parents don't know where they are?
No.
Wow. That's scary.
It is scary. It is scary.
Is it a big problem in Jamaica?
Right now, I don't have the empirical evidence to say that it is a big problem. I'm just saying that it has happened. And it continues to happen because when we do our reviews with the Ananda alert system and so many children still recorded as missing.
There must be somewhere.
There must be somewhere.
Because I've always wondered, like when you see these things on TV every night, this child missing, this child missing, this child missing. And you probably have 300 kids missing for the year, 150 or 200 come back. Where's the other 100? Because they're not if they had died, we would have probably found them.
Maybe found the body.
So I remember this story once, Miss McIntosh, where this girl got a call from St. Kitts from our school friend. Said that somebody kidnapped her and, let me not say St. Kitts, it's another country. Somebody kidnapped her and carried her to another country. And she was down there working, and she just got the chance to call to make people know that she's okay.
She's okay, yes.
That's scary though.
It is scary. And so that's why we say, you know, we have to be very mindful when we see the children on the road. We know that a lot of the abuse tends to be from someone they know, because we gather that. So it's either someone in their home, someone in their community.
So usually children are most at risk from people who they trust and they're close to. That is logical.
Yes. However, you still have the ones who would be kidnapped. You see them being lured, maybe into a taxi or into some vehicle. Or online. Yes. And the next thing you know, they don't reach home and nobody is able to give an account as to where they are.
Before we close, I want you to talk a little bit. We only have a minute. How can Jamaicans, I mean, look at us, we're surrounded by Instagram over there. We have Facebook and YouTube right there. And we have GIS and we have TikTok. We're surrounded by social media, which means our children are surrounded. Our children now have tablets.
Right.
And they are predators online.
Yes.
How do we as parents, as Jamaicans, what do we do to quickly tell us to protect our children online? And do they need protection online though? Because
they do need protection
Facebook
online.
Facebook and Instagram have things to protect the kids them. We don't need to protect them online.
Because you see, the predators know how to hack and how to do what we see a lot of cyberbullying.
Right.
We also know that online we have seen an increase in these so-called challenges. So they are the challenge as to whether or not you can tie the thing around your neck and jump. Yes. And then our children know
the Tide Pod challenge once I heard.
And all of those sort of things. And then they try these things. And of course they are not successful, but you know. So the parents, we have to monitor what our children our children are looking online. We have to see it, and where we can, if we can put there are some parental restrictions that can be put on some of the phones, put on some of the tablets.
Ms. McIntosh, we need another hour, but we have to run. We are just out of time. I'm very sorry, but we have to run because we're out of time. It's actually 12 o'clock. It has been a wonderful show with a lot of information. If you have any information about children who are at risk, call 211. It's free. Until next time, Love 101, the family station. Good morning, Minister. Thanks to Ms. McIntosh from the CPFSA. Thanks to the team. Take it away, my good friend, Nigel Wilkins. I remember this name. It's Nigel Wilkins. Nigel Wilkins is new. It's the first time. But Mr. Wilkins, you are very good today. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Minister. Take care. Good morning, Minister. With Minister of Information, Robert Nestor Morgan. Special guest, Mrs. Mitchell McIntosh Harvey, Acting CEO of the